my girlfriend is Venezuelan, so she didn't know too much about Thanksgiving and asked me about what it meant. And knowing that she may be asked this at a interview or something, this is the story that I told her about Thanksgiving, and this brings us to the part of the show, story time. The Thanksgiving story. Welcome to story time. This is the Thanksgiving story. Back in the day, there was a peaceful culture of folks living in North America. One day, a bunch of Europeans showed up on a boat. They started murdering these folks and stealing their land in a disgusting act of white privilege. So they were trying to figure out how this was all going to work. The head Native American Indian chief was Chief Wampum, and he was trying to work something out with the white man. There were only two things that meant the world to Chief Wampum: his people and his pet turkey that he named Thanksgiving. Now, the Europeans tried to send a kind gesture to the natives by giving them blankets during a very cold week. Chief Wampum was very grateful. He told the white man that gratefulness and love was key for living a good life. The next day, Chief Wampum paid a visit to the head of the Europeans named Tyler. Chief Wampum said that everyone who used the white man's blanket was dead. Tyler shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know anything about that, Chief Wampum." But Chief Wampum wasn't so sure. Tyler agreed to come to Chief Wampum's teepee and have a talk over the peace pipe. Tyler and Wampum agreed that their two groups should get together for a dinner, to come together as two different cultures of people. They set the dinner for the last Thursday of November, although the natives called it Month of the Bull. The table was set, with potatoes, cranberries, and corn. The two groups sat at the table. A tribal leader came up and whispered something into Chief Wampum's ear. A look of anger appeared on Chief Wampum's face. Wampum looked at Tyler and asked him if he knew anything about his group of 15 tribesmen who went out to gather food for the dinner, getting slaughtered in a bloody massacre. Tyler shrugged his shoulders and replied to Chief Wampum, "Bears?" Chief Wampum was livid. "Why do you keep killing us? What's wrong with you white people?" He took his tomahawk and started hitting the potatoes on the table, leaving a mashed mess. And this is why we eat mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving. He called for his tribe to leave the dinner. Now, Tyler loved potatoes, but whole potatoes. He wanted nothing to do with this mashed potatoes. Tyler called a few white dudes together to hatch a scheme. They were going to kidnap Chief Wampum's beloved pet turkey, make amends with them, and try to get them back at the dinner table. The two groups eventually returned to the dinner table. Tyler called for the main course, and a couple of white dudes came in with a giant roasted turkey and put it on the table. Chief Wampum was impressed. "Where did you find such a large fowl?" he asked Tyler. And Tyler looked Chief Wampum dead in the eye and said, "It's chicken. Just a really big chicken." Then they said blessings of thanks and peace, and the two groups dined together for the very first time. Chief Wampum was eating the turkey and said to Tyler, "This tastes different." Tyler replied, "Really? Tastes kind of strange?" "Well, Chief, what you're actually eating is your beloved pet turkey, Thanksgiving. Wow. Chief Wampum's face turned red with rage. Why would you do something like this? And Tyler replied, because you mashed all my potatoes, you son of a bitch, and now you're eating your own pet, fucker. Chief Wampum grabbed a handful of cranberries and threw them at Tyler. They covered him now in a sauce-like way. This is why we eat cranberry sauce at Thanksgiving. The whole dinner ended up in a huge food fight. And this is why we fight with our family on Thanksgiving. However, aside from the blood-red stains of cranberry sauce, not a single person was slaughtered. Tyler and Chief Wampum locked eyes on each other. This is a start, they agreed. The moment caused the white man a little thought about what they were doing to these natives. After the dinner, forever known as Thanksgiving, after Chief Wampum's beloved pet turkey, the chief asked Tyler if they could find a way to exist together on this land. Tyler said, sure, but you have to live right there, pointing at his village. Tyler continued, you can live right there and we're going to live everywhere else. We'll keep that land reserved for you. Chief Wampum asked Tyler if he'd like to make it interesting and bet goods that they will get more land. And this is why we have casinos and reservations today. Chief Wampum eventually collected on his bet, as his people were giving at least 3 other areas they could exist in. Eventually, the genocide settled down a little bit. The natives were promised a football franchise in their name, which we just took away from them. But from that dinner forward, the natives and the paleface would meet every year on the last Thursday of every month of the bull and dine together. Yes, many Native Americans were killed during those times, but we must be thankful that the white man didn't kill every single native and also gave African Americans the Friday after, where everything would be on sale. And that's the story of Thanksgiving. That was fucked up. I'm gonna get canceled. Please, somebody cancel me. I've got to be stopped, man. I just don't know. I don't know when I go too far, man. That was a made-up story, by the way. That's not really the story of Thanksgiving. That's the story that I told my girlfriend that Thanksgiving was about. She'll find out. And that was story time.